Welcome, everybody, to the weekly wrap-up with John and Yancy. My name is John Hings, and I'm here with my co-host, Yancy Seals.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the third day of Black History Month, and I am not John Santos. George Santos.
George Santos. We don't know what this fool's name is anyway. And,
sure don't.
God, man, that's another whole thing that we need to jump on is him being able to vote Omar off of the. I'm like,
right.
Anyway, I know.
Right.
I'm like, he gets a vote. This guy's a man.
No integrity, and you gonna let him vote?
None.
Oh, come on.
I don't understand where our country is right now, Yancy. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I'm kind of concerned because I don't understand where we are. We're not. We don't follow. There's no rule of law.
Right now,
everybody's just doing what the hell they want. You know, as long as you got the money and the balls to do it.
That's only evident when you see all the stuff that's going on. It was going to the police brutality and people agreeing with it and not saying nothing, being silent. They're just as culpable.
People who do not stand up to this police brutality might as well be out there swinging the freaking bat or swinging the baton. Yeah. You can't be quiet. It's something that Martin Luther King said is that during these times, we will not remember the words that our adversary said, but we're definitely going to remember the silence of our friends or supposedly friends. Y'all be quiet now, then don't complain. Yeah. You know, just get beat.
Yeah.
Don't get me started.
Right. I completely and totally agree. This is something, think about it, man. This brother who just got beat in Memphis, Tennessee. It looks just like the Rodney King,
bro. Because
we don't know our history. You're gonna damn once repeat it.
Repeat it, and that's what's happening now. Because people, we haven't done anything. To be really honest with you, there hasn't been anything done. You know, in order for us to make a change, there's nothing happening.
Right.
You know, there's no, people. We get upset like right now. And then all of a sudden, everything's going to be okay. You know, right. I mean, Breonna Taylor, she gets killed by policemen laying in her bed and they're shooting through the freaking walls and everything. And they kill this woman. All right. I mean, there's a cat that this thing coming up now, Elijah McClain, and people don't even remember about him. But Elijah McClain was the paramedics shot him with ketamine. It's a drug that the police officer told the paramedic he needs that, and then they shot him with it, and they hit him with it a couple of times, and he died later. Ketamine, and he died later. I mean, there's things that's happening right now that should not be happening, but we get upset, and then we calm down, and everybody goes away. We get upset
after the funeral.
And then everybody
back to normal.
The thing is that this show today is a very special show. We're going to have a very special guest that be joining us. And we're going to talk about these things. We're going to talk about police brutality. We're going to talk about solutions if we could find a solution. My solution is we're going to have to can everything we taught these people, and there needs to be a national training that they all have to live up to. Not just one department, another department, another department, another department. We need a national training. That's what I think. Okay. So that way there's a level that these people, that the police officers, people that we depend on, that we truly need to come up to, and not where we are now, where every little department can train their officers any way they want. Yeah. You know, and Brother Bill's and Cousin Joe's friend gets on. I mean, that's crazy, man.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you straight up, John. I'm too through with the T word, the training word. I'm just too through with that. That comes up every single time there's an incident. Every single time we need more training. No, fuck you don't. You know damn well you shouldn't be doing dumb shit. That's wrong. Don't go there with me. I don't buy it.
No, and I put it like this: we don't need more training. We have to change the psychology of training, and it has to all be changed. They got to wipe all that out and change it.
I'm gonna mention this when we get our special guest.
We get our special guest come on.
Is he coming on?
No, he's not here yet. I'm looking. I'm waiting.
But anyway, I'm waiting. I believe in order to fix this problem, if you're going to be a police officer, you must live in that community.
Oh
You
yeah.
can't come into the community and bust heads and do everything and go home to goddamn suburbs and live in
Nah.
a white picket fence and be safe. No, it don't work that way.
See, the thing is, I agree, because you know what? The thing is that most of these cats are scared, man. They're scared shitless when they pull up. I mean, there is a certain amount of apprehension when you pull over a car. You don't know what the hell's in it, but not scared to the point. And again, and we're going to talk about this when you're trained that, okay, a person that looks like this is dangerous. That person is dangerous. You come up on that person, what you going to think? That person is dangerous.
That person is this color. He is dangerous.
Yeah, and we gotta, nah, man, we just can't do that. We have to change this whole thing, the whole psychology of policing. And I think our special guest is now in the waiting room, and we are now ready to admit him. And I just hit admit, and we are here. I see the name. I don't see the face.
See the picture yet. Carl, you there?
Hey, Carl.
There you are.
Hey, okay. There he is.
Finally.
There
it's been a while.
Hello, how's it going, John?
Good morning to you, brother.
Good morning. Again, this is our special guest, and we are so excited. Nah, and this is not just bullshit. We are very happy to have you on, my brother.
Nice to be here, Brother John.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
good to see you, good brother. I think I met you a long time ago, man.
Hey, there he is. How you doing, Yancy?
I love this, man.
You guys all know this. You guys all know this is my big brother. So
hey,
go ahead.
I am this brother, but he's my big brother, to be realistic. 1 week.
Oh man. So welcome to the weekly wrap up with John and Yancy, man. We do this on a weekly basis. And you know, man, when we see things, when I see things, and especially it has to do with law enforcement, and I have questions, you're the person that I think about because of your knowledge, because of your integrity. And to be quite honest with you, because of and I admire you. I'm just being no shit. I'm not just blowing smoke, man. I admire you. But
I appreciate that.
I want to know, man, I'm pretty sure you've seen the Tyree arrest, the Tyree Nichols arrest. Can you please explain to me, and what did you see any police tactics, or did you see any type of thing that you were taught or anybody teaches? I mean, you've taught this stuff.
No. Well, I tell you what, Carl, before you go into that, explain to us the whole stop, that whole scenario. Explain that.
Well, it's difficult to explain because their behavior was so far outside the policies of that organization, so outside the law, that it's difficult to even explain how they even got to that level. Now think about it. These guys are working on a specialized unit. It was created to target specific areas of crime, and it could be assaults in that area, it could be robberies in that area, it could be a number of things, but it certainly wasn't targeted to do traffic stops. That's not why it was set up.
Good point. Okay? Good point.
Unless that traffic stop had something to do with their targeted enforcement, then they shouldn't have never done that. They shouldn't have even stopped the guy. You can call a black and white police officers that do traffic to do the traffic stop. But more importantly, that is something that you can ignore when you're working task force. You don't need to engage in a traffic stop. That's the first
Great point. Great point. That's a wonderful point.
So you have these 5 officers, and keep in mind, it doesn't take 5 officers to do a traffic stop. In unmarked cars, they were tasked to do one thing, and that was to suppress whatever crime that they were targeted to do, and that was it. So you got 5 officers on a traffic stop in unmarked cars claiming that this guy was driving reckless. That's an infraction. That's nothing more than writing someone a ticket and letting them go. Now, if you recall the video, the driver was asking the officers, "Why did you stop me?"
Yeah, what did I do?
What did I do wrong? And these officers were already at a heightened state when they made contact with the driver. They were already at a point where I don't know how they escalated that fast.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so you see these officers pulling Tyree Nichols out of the car, and he's trying to. I mean, he was more calm than the officers were, and the officers were in the position of power. And this young 29-year-old is trying to calm the officers down.
Mm-hmm.
So
Whoa.
it's
Yeah.
difficult. It's difficult for me to even imagine why or how these officers got to that point. I can only go by what the video showed, and what it showed was officers are out of control, just completely out of control.
Right.
So I think law enforcement has to acknowledge that systemic racism exists in their organization, and in order to effect change, in order to change the culture of policing, you have to first acknowledge that there's a problem, right?
I agree. I totally agree.
I agree. I agree.
And it's, I mean, think about the person that's an alcoholic, and the first thing that you must do when you go to an AA meeting
Stand
is
up.
to acknowledge that you have a drinking problem before you can affect change or usher in change, right?
My name is Yancy Seals. I'm a shoe hoe.
That's right. And so until you do that, you can't affect change. Now, these officers are in a position of power. You would think that, and especially being Black officers, you would think that they would try to bridge the gap between the Black community and policing.
Correct.
Right? I look at these 5 officers, their behavior, I look at it being worse than a white officer's behavior.
Thank you. Yes. Yes.
Because,
thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at slavery, if you go back to slavery.
Oh, come on with it.
If you go back
let's
to
do
slavery,
it. Let's do it.
And you look at the house Negro versus the field Negro.
Yes.
What do you see? Huh?
Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah, and so that's what I saw. When I saw these brothers, they were the house Negroes. And that Black citizen was interpreted as the field Negro. So I have no regard for you at all.
Yeah, exactly. Man, okay, look, here's when I've seen and I've viewed that so many different times. Because I want to be fair, right? And there's only one way when you see it, but when this cat screamed out, "Mama, mama," even if you were in a heightened state, if I was ready to kick somebody's ass, and I was beating the shit out of him, and I heard "Mama, mama," that's gonna make me pause. I'm gonna go like, okay, yeah, I would go like, okay, wait, these cats they just, like you said, no regard. Yeah. And I didn't see any type of control, of like, their control techniques. He's kept hounding, "Give me your hand, give me your hand." I don't understand that. And like you said, there's really no way to explain it.
There was
go ahead.
No humanity at all in them 5 brothers. As a Black man, and not a Black officer, but as a Black man, we understand, we recognize, I'll just say, the brothers that need some more attention.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
We recognize who those people are. In this case, what I found difficult is that these officers didn't recognize that this guy was a skateboarder. To put it simple. I mean, just by his tonation, when he spoke to the officers and he asked them, "Why are you stopping me? What's going on? I don't understand why you were doing this." And these officers, you would think they would take a moment of pause and said, "You know what? Okay, this is not that guy."
Exactly.
He doesn't fit that profile, right?
There you go. Exactly.
We as Black men understand and we recognize that, Yep. And so I think that they have taken on these 5 brothers took on the culture of today's policing. And it's racism is so embedded in law enforcement. Think about this for a moment. Officers today are wearing body cams.
Yep.
Right? There's vehicle cams. There's pole cams. There's citizens walking around with a cell phones. Camera, right? And yet that has not deterred these officers from excessive force. It hasn't
Yeah.
deterred them. So that is a culture that's so rooted in racism that these brothers didn't even realize they took on that persona.
Yeah. No, see,
right?
That is the radicalization, and I call it brainwashing or radicalization that they go through.
Yeah.
They adhere to.
This particular thing really bugged the shit out of me. And simply because what Carl just mentioned, they were black. And when it first jumped off, I said, were they black? And my wife said, yeah. And it just stabbed me dead in my heart, man. Because we go through a lot. Carl drew the analogy of the field Negro and the house Negro, and that's exactly what I told my wife the other day.
Is that right?
This same thing. This is house Negro, field Negro issues where they felt that you are creating problems for me, for us, for people who wants to be here. You don't have the look that they want us to have, so we're gonna do something with you. Now I have another problem. Let me add to that. The chief of the police, she came from Atlanta. This same program, Scorpion, she put in Atlanta. Didn't work well. She left Atlanta, but she brought the same failure of a program to Memphis. Didn't work. She has to go.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And bottom line is,
Colonel.
She's not the frontline supervisor, but I agree with you, Yancy. You are the chief of that organization, so you have to be held accountable. And that's the other thing too. I think that today, in order to find some halfway decent reform in law enforcement today, I think at this point, body cameras haven't worked, poll cameras haven't worked, vehicle cameras and cell phones as citizens, none of these things have worked to try to deter officers from that type of behavior in what's supposed to be a profession, a professional
what do we do?
profession. So I think a basic standardized training across the United States and maybe some oversight.
No, keep going. Because you didn't hear what I said before, but go ahead.
But I think that we need to somehow institute some kind of basic standardized training across the United States. I understand that each state has different laws. I get that. But there need to be some kind of basic training. And then what else needs to be done is swift accountability. All right. Yep. So if you have an officers out there and they're doing gross things that are outside of the policy and against the law, then I don't think the officer should be suspended with pay. I think that they should be fired. I will say the only thing that the Memphis chief did correctly was she fired these officers immediately. When you think of the gross behavior of those 5 officers, I don't see nothing wrong with that at all. You will have some officers say, well, you know what? They need due process. Well, they can get due process.
Yeah,
but they're
going to get due process.
Yeah, but they shouldn't be paid in the process.
Right. We're not going to pay for your due process.
Taking its time. Yeah, no.
Yeah, right.
They acted.
You're right.
They acted so far outside of the law and so far outside of department policy. I call that gross. Then they need to be dealt with immediately.
So, interesting.
See, that is. I agree totally. You know what? When we were talking last week, Yancy, we hadn't seen the video yet. And when I saw the video, I was so appalled that I just had to watch it 2 or 3 times. I don't believe this. And I agree. And I said the same thing that I concur completely with what Carl said, that we need to have a standard, not only a standard of training. Well, I know that's the cheat word, but standard of training, but we also have to have a standard of excellence and a standard of who gets in the police department. When back in the day, like if 10 people or 20 people would apply to be a police officer, maybe 1 or 2 of them would be accepted. Nowadays, everyone's being accepted. I mean, there are people who should not be police officers.
Yeah.
And I agree.
And we have to have a standard that's set up. Okay, if you don't reach this standard psychologically and whatever, then we like you. There's nothing wrong with it, but you can't police our civilians. You can't have the ability to kill people.
Back in the day, didn't they have a standard that in order to be a police officer, you had to be at least 5'9" or 5'10"? a certain height.
There used to
because
be a height standard.
Yeah, it used
Yeah,
to be,
they did
that
have
kind of
those
got rid of
type
those little
standards,
small
yeah.
people with
Yeah.
these little small mentality issues. You know,
Yeah.
want to bust somebody up. So
Yeah, but I
think
mean,
here's
Go
my
ahead, Jan.
position. My position is this: if you want to cure this problem, and I think this will help cure the problem somewhat, not in totality, but some of it is that in order to be a police officer in a certain area, let's say Pomona, you're going to have to live in Pomona. You cannot be a police officer and bust up Pomona and bust up the citizens of Pomona and then turn around and go live in Claremont. Bullshit.
Well, I agree with you. You got to have some skin in the game.
Yeah.
And bottom
Exactly.
line is, yeah. And I think the bottom line is when you talk about your own community and you seem to take a personal interest if it's your community.
If it's yours.
But
Yes.
if you work outside a community, you don't care about that community.
No.
You know what I mean? Because you're not a part of that community. And I think in order for police officers to do their job, you need the support of the community that you work for.
I believe
absolutely.
So.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And so that's the only way you can bridge the gap between law enforcement and the community that you serve is to have a vested interest in that community.
Yes.
So that bridge, Carl, how do you build that bridge? How is that bridge constructed for the police officers to the communities? What does that look like?
That's getting out there and learning who your business people are.
Mm-hmm.
That's walking the beat. That's shaking hands. That's talking to people with and showing some dignity and caring. That's how you bridge the gap. It's not us against them, and that's what you see when you have officers that are not vested in that community. It's us against them mentality. And so I don't care about. And if you look at the video of those 5 officers in Memphis, that was them against that Tyree Nichols.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because if it were officers that had this mentality of serving that community, then they would have walked up to the car and it was simply said, "I'm stopping you because you were reckless driving. I'm going to need to see your driver's license and registration." That's a relationship, right? That's a relationship. What they did was walked up to the car and just started yanking his brother out without telling him why, right? Now, I don't know about you, brothers, but I have not seen a white officer pull a white driver out of the car the way that these brothers did this black man.
No.
Right? No, I have never seen that. Maybe it has occurred, but I can't say I've seen that.
I can't see it. I haven't seen it.
Right.
I think I posed a question before somewhere on Facebook or one of these social medias. If they were white, would the same thing have happened? And overwhelmingly, the answer came back as no, absolutely
no. Well, think about I don't remember the names, but there were 9 black people in a church, and this white suspect walked in.
South Carolina.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Walks in and prays with them, and then turns around and kills all 9 people. The white officer arrests him. Homeboy says, "I'm hungry." They take him to Burger King.
Yeah.
Now, that's crazy.
See, but this is what's occurring in our country.
Exactly. So, like I said, I think in order to create some change and some reform, we have to really take a serious look at how the modern day policing is being done. And like I said, they used to think that body cams and tape recorders and poll cams were was the quick fix. And we're finding out that that's not the case at all. Not the case at all. So it's so rooted. It's so rooted within the culture of policing that police officers, for the most part, think they can do whatever they want to do.
So how do we pull those roots up?
Training is the only thing I think of.
You got it.
And oversight perhaps, and that's going to help. And holding people accountable. If you do something, you need to be spanked immediately. This is not. I mean, these guys are out there shooting people, and
they're taking lives, man.
They're not being held accountable.
No, they're not.
So they're trying to justify what they saw in the video, and we all saw what we saw.
And then
these officers wrote false reports.
reports.
The
Exactly.
reports did not coincide with what we saw in the video. Now, just
you know
think for a moment that poll cam wasn't there. We wouldn't be having this conversation.
No.
It would be
Nope.
done and over
No,
with.
we wouldn't. It'd be
Right?
over with.
It is.
It'd be over with.
Yeah.
It'd be over
And
with.
so,
See,
and that was their poll cam.
exactly. You know,
They installed it.
I told my wife, I said, you know, if I worked that area, I would know that pole cam is there.
Exactly.
You know,
But-
I would know that. You know, but
Yeah.
you see,
But you know what? That's funny, but that says a whole lot, man. That says I really don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
That's what that's really saying. I don't give a fuck.
I don't care.
The thing is that strikes me is not only that they don't care, but there was no they know that there wasn't going to be any type of penalty.
No, there's no
they
recourse.
knew that nothing, and it tells me that they've done this before. You could tell that they've done this before. This is not like, you know, oh, oops, we're just doing this. They've done this before. You know, and you look at their backgrounds. You look at how many times these guys were brought up, or actually there was charges, or not charges, but complaints about them, and nothing was done.
Well, think about this. Think about the behavior after they beat up Tyree Nichols. All right. Think about the conversations that they were having when and they were trying to find blame. Exactly. He must have been on drugs. He must be this. He must be that. But these guys sounded like Crips and Bloods after they did a drive-by shooting.
After they do a drive-by,
it was crazy to listen. There was no professional. I mean, they were using harsh words to describe this young man. When they pulled him out of the car initially, I think somebody said, "You'll get your bitch ass out of the car."
Yeah, he did.
I mean,
I'll fuck you up. I'm like, what?
And so like you said, John, this certainly wasn't the first time. It probably was the second or third time. They were so comfortable. If you watch that conversation that all five of them had, they're very comfortable about it. And
you know what? Another thing I want to talk to you about too, man. I want to ask you about. Okay, now look. Okay, this guy, the one. Okay, let me get this together. So Tyree Nichols gets away from these officers and runs. This guy ran with what looks like to be a half a block, okay? And he was totally winded, totally done. If he had encountered the suspect, he wouldn't have been able to do anything with him because he was winded.
Yeah.
I mean, physical fitness that's got to be a thing too.
And think about how young these officers are to be in the shape that they were in. I mean,
exactly.
Now, one of the officers received. It appeared that he had some overspray of the pepper spray. Now they were dousing Tyree Nichols with. I mean, it was dripping off his face.
Yeah,
and he would manage. And their tactics obviously were terrible. Once a suspect is placed on the ground on his stomach, there's no way he should be able to rise to his feet and walk away from him. There's just no way. So their tactics were terrible, which tells me that they weren't very well trained at all to be on the specialized team,
a special task force.
Yeah, you put your best officers, you put your seasoned officers on TAC teams and specialized units. You don't put 2 and 3 year so-called veterans on these special teams. You just don't.
That's not a bet.
A lot of them, because you have a lot of latitude. I've been on several teams, and you get a lot of latitude, and you're expected to behave within policy and within the law. You're trusted to do that. That is part of being experienced and having time in that area. But these guys, they just look completely out of control from the get-go. And then the behavior afterwards, they just dragged him over towards the car. In most policies, if you use a chemical agent on somebody, you have to, get him medical attention. That's okay. And then most policies that when you deploy that stuff, you have to get him medical and get him medical attention. Period.
So that's the reason why
render first aid.
That's why they
Render
fired
first
those
aid.
EMTs, but they didn't render.
He didn't render any aid to him
They
at
didn't
all.
read any aid. None.
But you
None.
notice that one of the officers got the overspray, and he was complaining. You remember it was
Exactly.
one of the other
Yeah.
officers was dousing it
Yeah.
over and
Mhm.
over again, and he just
Mhm.
got overspray.
Man.
Because
And people are saying, well, why did he run? I said, you got when you okay, obviously you've never been sprayed. Secondly, there's fight or flight. He was getting the
absolutely.
hell beaten out of him. You know, he knew there was no way to win. So what did he do? He ran.
Yeah.
Anybody would do that.
He was not, first of all, the guy was not resisting. Secondly, you got to kind of think about what's in his mind. I know I didn't do anything wrong. Why are these guys punching me? Why am I getting beat up? Now, two things can happen. I can fight back or I can try to get away. The simplest thing is to try to get away.
Get away.
Because I don't want to fight the officer. We've been programmed as citizens to, obey what the officers tell you to do.
Right. Obey the officer's commands, right.
Exactly. That's how we've been trained. So he's getting beat up. Well, shoot, I don't understand why I'm getting beat up. So I got to get out of here, like any normal person would do. So I didn't see that as an issue at all, period.
Exactly.
Everything that I saw it was on the officers. Their behavior was so far outside the policies and law that it was just ridiculous from Jump Street.
So, a question. So, where do we start to create a national or an idea of a national standard or an idea of a national training? How do we get there? How do we get there from here? Because my thing is this, okay, we do real well at identifying the problem. And I'm glad you're here because you bring credit to what Yancy and I are saying. But how do we move from here? How do we say, okay, we want to start do we start a letter campaign? What do we do?
Well, first thing we got to do is acknowledge that it exists. And that's the hard part.
Number one.
That's the hard part because a lot of agencies, they will not acknowledge that we have a problem. And so, I mean, you got so many organizations out there that are saying not me until it becomes them. All right. I'm sure. Point. Yeah. So that's a hard question to answer because until people start to acknowledge that we need to do something different, nothing's going to change. I mean, think about all the mass shootings that have occurred in the United States. You would think that by now we'd have some semblance of gun control. I'm a gun. I like guns.
Me too.
Person. All right. But I mean, just some simple background checks. We don't want to hand guns to people that are involved in domestic violence. I mean, we don't want to hand guns. No. So we can't even get that right.
Yeah, everyone don't deserve to have a gun. Sorry. Everyone don't deserve to have a gun.
Yeah,
I mean, people
that's a simple thing to do.
They're complaining about universal background checks. I'm like, what is wrong with that?
I don't see nothing wrong with that. That's
if you're gonna get a weapon and you should be able to pass a background check, you can outright everything everywhere. Go ahead, do it. And then go ahead.
So it's something as simple as that, and we're talking about mass shootings, killing of kids, and we can't even adopt something simple as, like you said, universal check. So
you got a good point.
We're talking about
changing the psychology. Yes. Changing the psychology of policing, and that's going to be.
My goodness. Good luck. And
I know, right?
Because a lot of organizations don't think that there's anything wrong because it's so embedded. It's so embedded. That's the way we've been doing it for eons.
You know what? Now you just brought the good attention. That is a good point because policing in America began in the late 17th, 1800s with the slave patrols. And the slave patrols, because slavery was such a integral part of our economy that that if slaves ran away, it would be a problem to the United States government. The United States government created the slave patrols, and then they would go out and commit atrocities, so that way slaves would not run away. From that became the United States Police Department, and they began the policing. My point is, because the seed was tainted, we can't expect the fruit to be edible. We can't expect that. We have to just wipe that out and start all over. and start all over. But like you said, that is a humongous task because it because of the intricateness, how all of this combines together, how the jails combine with it, how how the corporations,
just the system, our
the
court system,
the system.
I mean, you can go back and we could talk about this for hours, but the bottom line is, it's a culture that has to be changed, but it's not gonna happen overnight, not even close, because it's so embedded in the business of policing.
And there you go, the business of policing, and that's true.
Yeah, it really is
true. That is true.
Does all this come down to money? Follow the money?
I don't see where that would be the issue of money. I think more or less, I think it's just a culture. I mean, you would think that Blacks and Hispanics and whoever enters this business would not adopt the same behavior as what you saw in Memphis.
So I got a question, Carl.
But they do.
This is gonna be a difficult question, and you may want to answer, you may not. It's up to you. In some police stations, or when they have their roll call, where everything, be careful of this particular group. Be careful of those people over there. Watch out for them. Do they give specifics like that? Watch out, because why are Black and brown people such feared by police officers?
That's a good question. Why are officers? I think a lot of it is media propaganda. If you look at TV, well, we can go back even when we were kids. I remember first thing we used to say as a Black community when something bad happened, I hope that wasn't a Black person. Remember that?
I say it today.
Yeah. We all grew up together, y'all. We all grew up together, so y'all know.
Yeah. And so and you notice that when a police officer does something and the person's Black, the first thing that the media or the organization wants to do is demonize that Black person to justify the actions of a white officer.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to keep in mind, and that's been going on for eons, decades, that we are somehow worse than the average criminal. Somehow we are the devils out there. And so you have these officers that get hired, and they're people, they're police officers, but they're still people. So they grew up, thinking that Black people for some reason are the worst bad guys out there. And so I'll give you an example. I remember there were some kids selling candy at in front of a bank. And they were 13, 14-year-olds, and they dispatched 2 officers to go handle that. Well, you don't need 2 white officers to go handle 2 kids selling candy.
Right.
And so it's just, we're automatically deemed as bad before you even find out what's going on.
No, that's a good point. That's a good point.
I mean, I don't know. Like I said, it's the systemic racism in this business. It runs deep, and it runs to the core of law enforcement, modern day law enforcement.
Yeah. I was reading the article the other day, just yesterday, as a matter of fact, John, up by your way, New Hampshire way. And this 9-year-old little Black girl was outside catching butterflies or moths. And these moths were highly were what do we call them, on a dangerous species list. Okay. And she's collecting them. They didn't know it at first, but she was just like moths and butterflies.
Yeah, right.
The person, white lady, called the police and said, this little girl is catching all our moths, and the police came by and did what they're gonna do. And then Yale school gave her a what do you call it? A scholarship, because she is becoming what do you call it? They're not paleontologists. What is it? What is a bug person? Anyway, and they gave her a scholarship, 9 years old, because this girl has this unique ability to locate
Right.
It categorized these particular mobs.
Wow.
Well, you know, I mean,
the lady called the police only because she was black. No other reason.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I
But
mean,
see,
like I said,
go ahead.
go ahead.
Go ahead, Carl. No, go ahead, Carl.
No, I just wanted to say I agree with Yancy, and a lot of times, like, what are they calling them, Karens out there?
Yeah.
They use the police officers, and that's what I think about when the story that Yancy just told. And instead of the police officers coming out and being objective, you know, and look at the totality of why you're responding to this particular call and use some common sense, for crying out loud, they automatically, you know, look at us as being, you know, being negative when they look at us. It's,
yes.
And until they find out otherwise. And so, but yes, I agree.
It has to do too with our society, what we see on TV, but which also goes into the training programs. All of this, like when you see the programs and they see bad person black, bad person black, bad person black, that's what people are going to think. I mean, you're looking at in the United States, the police shoot over 1,000 people a year, and an unproportionate amount of those people are black people. And you have to ask yourself, well, I ask myself, what are we doing? What are we doing as opposed to the rest of the world? Well, when you find out that we are like above places like just above Venezuela, and we're not even above Iraq and Iran as far as killing your citizens are concerned, and I have the statistics, and you want to think, well, what do we do? Are we killing each? Why are we allowing an organization to kill our citizens? I mean, hey, look, I'm for law enforcement. I always get bagged because I always support law enforcement, but with the caveat, you know, enforcing the laws that is one thing. You know, being egregious or just being biased and wanting to hurt other people is another thing. And I've seen officers on both sides of the street that just want to arrest, especially black people or people that doesn't look like them.
Yeah. I agree. You know, obviously I was in the business for 32 years. And what I can tell you is that, you know, for the most part, the officers out there are trying to do a good job.
The best job. Yes, I agree. I agree.
But there are a number of officers that are operating under a different umbrella. And those are the officers that give the entire organization a bad name. And like you saw those 5 officers out there. I suspect
the police chief and the captains of those stations, they know who they are, do they not?
Well, you got you should have first line supervisors in charge of that unit, which is typically a sergeant and a lieutenant.
Yeah. They know who they are, right?
Unless they're part of them. Unless they're part of it.
A part of it, yeah. I knew who my guys were. I knew what their personalities were. I knew what their temperaments were. And I used to tell my officers, I will back you to the hill. But if you go out there and you bully some people, I will give you up in a heartbeat. Because bottom line is, and if you have supervision like that, then you're not going to have these kinds of issues where you have 5 officers that go out and bully. That's just basically what they did. They used their position of power to bully this 29-year-old young man. Wow. And that's not acceptable anymore. You know, it's coming to a point where we have, well, you know, one good thing about all of this, I hope that comes out of it, is that the chief firing these guys immediately, and then the district attorney filing charges against them almost immediately. This should be the blueprint of what should occur from this point on. No matter if you're white, Mexican, Hispanic, doesn't matter.
Don't matter.
This should be the blueprint. If you do egregious nonsense outside the policy, outside law, then this is how it needs to be dealt with immediately.
Exactly, immediately.
And then I think, and I think that might start to change the mindset of today's policing. When you know that you're going to get arrested, that there's a possibility that you might be in jail for 20 to 25 years. I think people are going to start thinking a little differently.
That makes you think. That'll get your attention. It'll get your attention. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
So basically, it's up to Congress. It's up to I would say it need to be law that's across the board. This is what
Yeah.
happens if you do this. That's pretty simple.
Period.
You-
And I think that's why I said there's some kind of basic standardized training
I agree.
across the United States. And again, I understand that each state have different laws and have different policies. I get that. But there seem to be, if you do A, B, C, D, you need to be held accountable for it immediately.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
it. It's nothing complicated about that.
It isn't.
It's not. It
There's
isn't. It
nothing
really
complicated
isn't.
about
It really
that.
isn't.
Yeah.
When you
Wow.
decide to get in this business, there's certain things that you have to adhere to, and by the letter of the law.
By the
And
yeah.
if you don't, then you have to be held accountable, man. It's as simple as that. And until we reach that and get to that point, we're going to continue to see Tyrese Nichols' instances continue unless it changes.
And that's the part which I really want to stop. I'm tired of seeing black lives. I'm tired of seeing black men, laying on the street being killed for no reason. I'm done. I'm done. And I don't want to, I'm done with the marching. I'm done with all that. We need to get to the point where we have to you have to directly, you have to do something. If you're going to create laws, get to your lawmakers and talk with them and get them to get them to make laws at that level. That's why it's so important for people to vote at the local level. It's really important because we have to try to change these. We got to change these laws. Not try. I'm done trying. We got to change these laws.
Yeah.
I was talking to John in the green room before we came on, and I was telling him you can actually take a look at what happened with Tyrese and take a look at what happened to that brother 30 years ago. What's his name? Rodney King. The same thing. The only organization that was held in that day as well as Rodney King is they all took uniform attire and beating that man up. That's the only organized situation that was going on. Okay, it's your turn. They had a round robin on him. Same thing, Rodney King.
Yeah. One thing I can say that I do want to bring out is that we are the only race that have to apologize for what another black person does. Like if a white person does something, you don't look at the other white person and say, yeah, y'all must be like, we are the only race that if you see a black person do it, yeah, he must be a robber too. He black. Or we have to apologize for what a black person does. I'm not apologizing for what black people do. I can apologize for what I do, but not what black people do. But I want to bring that up. That's my point.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
Oh, this was great, man.
This is great, stuff. Man. This is the best show. Okay, listen. Is there a parting shot you want to add, Carl? Is there something you want to say?
No, I think most of it has already been said. I think what again, when I look at law enforcement today, I haven't seen that much change. I mean, you still see the same nonsense. Next week it's going to be somebody else. I was just reading something earlier today where Huntington Park Police Department. Did you see that?
I saw that yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
That's crazy to me. I don't understand why.
Tell our listeners what you read. Tell our listeners.
Basically, in a nutshell, you have a double amputee who apparently stabbed somebody or tried to stab somebody. Huntington Park police officers responded to the scene. He could be seen, the double amputee could be seen jumping out of his wheelchair.
Yep.
And on his, I don't know if you can call them stubs, running away from the police officers. The officers are walking behind him, and it looked like he had either a taser gun pointed at this guy or his gun. Or
it was a knife. It was a knife.
Oh, okay, so the double amputee had a knife in his hand.
A butcher knife, right?
Yeah, but he was running away. That's what I could see based on the limited videos that I saw. I don't understand how it went from they were trying to taser to deadly force. And to be fair, I would want to know more about what occurred that day. But I've dealt with people in my career with knives, and I just shot them with the taser. I never thought about shooting them. I mean,
they did shoot him with the taser. They shot him twice with the taser.
Really?
Twice with the taser. Yeah, they tased him twice. according to the newspaper, tased him twice. Okay,
it was ineffective.
It was ineffective. So my man started trying to come with the knife. Now I didn't think you had to shoot the dude. You could have went and got a broomstick and beat the shit out of him if you really wanted to.
Well, first off, we're talking about what the media reported, which could have been come from anywhere, and if it was from the police report, it may not exactly be what occurred.
I would need to know more about the totality of the whole incident before I could even begin to speak on that.
But it is suspect. I mean, it is.
Yeah,
suspect.
I mean, what can a double amputee? How can he lunge at you and stab you with the knife? What's he going to throw it at you? Come on,
he had no kneecaps. He can't. No kneecaps.
I don't
understand. I don't understand it. But but see, this is what a policing has come to in America. Right. A lot of the guys they pull their guns first. I mean, the first thing they think of is I'll shoot
deadly force. Yeah.
And deadly force. I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Policing is more than just that.
Yeah, it's more, I mean, and in policing, you have all the time in the world. And in this case with the double amputee, time is on the officer's side. You can keep a car between you. You can, I mean, there's a number of things that could have happened there. I don't understand why deadly force was the first option or the second option that they used. You got a baton, you got a axe. I mean, he's on his stumps, for crying out loud. How is he going to reach up and stab you? I don't get it. But again, I just, from my perspective, I wasn't there, so I can't say, but I just look at it in simple terms. How is it that this guy, and there's several of you officers out there, because I saw several police cars. Yeah. You mean to tell me you guys couldn't have resolved that without shooting this man? I don't know.
No, man, because you know what? That brings up another point that I was reading not too long ago, that our society, because we are so prone, like they were telling us, be careful when you watch this film. But why? I mean, we are so prone to seeing murder on TV every day. We are so prone to seeing people shot on TV every day. We are so prone to, especially the young kids, listening to the rap music, which talks about killing people every day. We have been so desensitized to killing people. And then before, when we would see somebody shot on TV, they go, oh, and nowadays you see them shot on TV, the blood splatters, you see them laying down, the blood's filling up the plate. It's just, I believe we're just being really desensitized to killing another human being. And
well, yeah, really do. If you think about mass shootings, I mean, that's a good example of what you're talking about. It's not a big deal to us anymore. It's accepted.
Yeah, exactly.
It takes a special person to be a cop, and I know that's not me. Bro, what kind of person is it? Who's that guy?
I think for me, I can only speak on me. My thought was I wanted to affect change, and so I thought if I became a police officer, I could do that in small part, but I can do something. And I mean, we could sit back and talk about how bad police officers are, but by the same token, again, I think it's a small segment of people that behave like these 5 officers did.
Absolutely,
The majority of the people that I met in my career are good people. People who have families, people who got into business because they cared, they wanted to serve. And now you have people that are getting into business who's looking for a job and a paycheck.
That's
the problem right there. You go.
And those are the people who go for their gun first. Because they have no life.
They got to protect their paycheck.
Yeah. Well, they have no life experience at all.
Exactly.
They don't know how to go hands-on. They don't know anything about hand-to-hand combat. You saw that.
Exactly.
With the five brothers who couldn't keep that one young 150-pound guy on the ground. You couldn't keep him on the ground. Why? Because you have no background, you have no life experience, you have no tactic training. Wow. And so this guy was able to rise and get free and walk away from you.
Man. That's just crazy.
So
that's just crazy.
So you know what? And that's your question, Yancy, real quick. And that's a person who cares. And I think that's yeah. And
you know what?
Somehow we've lost that. So
that's it right there. You got to care. Got to
You
care.
really have, and that's huge. That's huge. Who would be a good candidate for a police officer? A person that
Who
cares.
cares?
And that's right. And I love that. That is, and it's so factual and it's so true. Unfortunately, nowadays, like Carl said, just a paycheck. It's just a
It's
paycheck.
just a paycheck.
It's a paycheck. So listen, Carl, what I want to do is I want to ask you if from time to time we can have you come on and not just about law enforcement, but anything that you guys that you want to talk about. And then I'm going to be doing another thing too, that we're going to be doing a thing called the Centown Project, and we really would love for you to be a part of that.
Absolutely.
Because we want, there's different things that in Centown that happen when we all grew up, and we want to be able to describe them and let people know what we felt when we were coming up, and just to be what Centown became. And we'll talk more offline about that.
Because understand, because we all know Centown has produced some good people.
Great people.
Absolutely wonderful.
Absolutely.
And that kind of thing needs to be recognized, need to be told.
And that's exactly what we're going to tell.
So
but you know what?
Project is what we're asking everybody to do. I have your email. Just give me the okay to use it. To send us your email so we can contact you and get your input about this project.
Yes.
Now,
okay.
And Carl, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to our audience. I've been speaking to you guys for a long time about this. Send me emails. If you don't want to send me an email when the project comes out, shut the fuck up. Don't say nothing. Don't say a damn thing.
No, he's right. He's right. Yes, he's so right. Because you know what? I put out things on Facebook. Everybody's saying, yeah, John. But all I said on there, please send your email to infoblips1@gmail.com. And I got nothing. I got nothing.
Wow. Yeah.
So
I got about 4 of them sent me emails so far. But send me the emails. You guys want to be a part of this program? Want your voice be heard about the program, Centown program? Send me your goddamn email so we can schedule you. That's all.
And I'm gonna tell you, it's gonna be done. It's gonna be done. The bottom line is, it's not gonna stop us. It's gonna be done. So if you would like your voice heard, that's great. But it's going to be done.
I just want to say one thing before we get off the air. I want to get I got a smart brother. Brother is smart. See,
I know, right? Right? I know. I love the way he articulates things. Like, yeah.
Dang it. My man gets shit in the White House as well as the outhouse. No problem.
There you go. Carl, I want to sincerely thank you for coming on the show, man. We are definitely going to be in touch with you for the Centown Project. And we thank you so much for joining us, brother.
It's been a pleasure, man.
Anytime, brother. Anytime you got an open mic, anytime, brother. All right.
Good. It's been fun. It's been a pleasure. And thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Hey, it's been our pleasure. Guys.
What's up, bro?
All right. Thank you very much, Carl. All right. Well, that's it for us, you guys. You want to say something, party, Yancy?
No, it's just been a pleasure. It's been nice. And glad that you invited me on.
Okay, wonderful.
And for me, you guys send the emails for the Centown Project. This is so important. Please inbox me your email. That's all.
Yeah, very important, you guys. Again, guys, thank you very much and peace. That was it for John and Yancy, the weekly wrap up. We see you guys next week. Thanks a lot for being a part of it with you. Peace out, guys.